Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the regular city council meeting for November the 17th, 2025. And is Alicia, you're here. Would you come forward? Oh, no, I'm sorry. We need the roll call. Alicia, just a second. Would you do the roll call, please?
Councilmember Dennehy? Absent. Councilmember Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Schmischer?
Here.
Councilmember Stein?
Here.
Councilmember Tracy?
Here.
Councilmember Worthington?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Here.
Mayor Troutman?
Here. That's the second time in a row I've done that. So welcome, Alicia. Alicia is with the Royal Gorge Vineyard Church. Would you please rise for the invocation?
Father God, we are just so grateful for this community and all the people that come together to make it a better place. Lord, we thank you that all the resources that you give us and provide for us in this community. And Lord, we just pray your blessing on all the people that serve here, work here. Lord, thank you for this time, and we pray that you'd give us much wisdom as we work together. And we pray all these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Pledge of allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you all. Thank you. Emily, did you push your button or? You're popular. We'll just, okay. Well, at this time we have, if you'd like to talk to council, we have sheets out there. You fill them out and bring them over here to Cindy. And this is the time of the meeting that we would do that. So we're going to start out with John Joins, is it? John, come on up to the podium. You're going to talk about ADA crime.
Good evening. Subject changed a little bit, but it's still about people with disabilities. Last 6 years, I've seen nothing done on the sidewalks. They're literally throwing me out of my chair. It happens. Shouldn't happen. But what also shouldn't happen is me trying to get into City Hall, pushing the button on the door, and it doesn't work. Right out here. I imagine y'all got cameras on it. Enjoy the movie. That's what I go through every day. I can't cross an intersection because no one looks both ways. I'm never seen a ticket for anybody running a red stop sign. I live on Main Street. Middle of the night, I hear a Corvette revving at 7,000 RPMs and people doing wheelies on dirt bikes. Well, I'm sorry I had to go that far, but there's things called the ADA, Americans with Disability Acts. You might want to read up on it, because I've applied for a grant to put sensors and cameras on any wheelchair in this town who wants it. I've already mapped out Main Street. Read the bill. Make some attempt to comply with it. I see them rebuilding Main Street, leaving the sidewalks. If you drive, you're good. If you can't drive, who cares? That's the message that we're getting. And I'm really beginning to wonder if you all care. You say you do. I watch the meetings online. Anybody have an idea out here too? How many years in a row has Canyon City been well over 100% above the violent crime rate? Might want to look that up. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Goins. Yes, go ahead.
Administrator Stevens, if I'm recalling correctly, we have a line item in the budget for ADA compliance. I know with regard to the parks, Park Superintendent Brady has been working with Rob Gilkerson, and they're making significant improvements up at the Elkhorn Loop and East Ridge Campground, who would be the appropriate person to kind of get a list of specific challenges, particularly as they relate to public buildings and public rights of way? Who would be the appropriate person in the city, and who kind of oversees that ADA compliance line item?
Yeah, I think we have two ADA coordinators, Ted Dell in the engineering department and Butch Batchelder in human resources.
Okay.
And we do, there are various things that get done throughout the city, and, projects move up as we get complaints from an ADA standpoint. We do replace a lot of crosswalks, or not crosswalks, but the cross pans because of ADA issues. But if there are specific areas, we'd be happy to hear about them so we can move those up the priority list.
Who should they reach out to as a first point of contact?
I would say go ahead and have them reach out to Ted, and we can reach out and get that information over to Mr. Jones.
Great. Thank you.
I don't have it down here, but I have your information, I'll get a hold of you then.
I can come down during the week.
I'll make sure you
Thank
have
you.
it.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Addressing that, the crime rate. I live across from the Mexican restaurant. When you go out, when you're having a look and you see the whole street blocked by police cars because it got robbed in the middle of the day, I'm sorry, I'm flustered. There's no justification for a crime rate that bad. While you're researching that, look where the
Okay.
crime rate is that bad. It's all in cities over 250,000 people. They got an excuse, we don't.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Kyle Horn. Oh, that Kyle Horn.
Thank you very much. Made the decision probably about 45 minutes ago to come in and speak. I think it's important to look at some of the things that have happened over the last 2+ years since the Ichabod Pool closed, and there was a consistent from the beginning, and I'm very glad to see that Adam Hartman is here. Because he gets to hear this as well. The Recreation District, when the pool closed, was never alone. City of Canyon City, Canyon City Schools, all stepped up to go, what can we do? Now, some of the faces on council may have changed, some of the faces on the school board may have changed. But the Rec District was never alone in that endeavor, and looking to find out how we can solve this issue to move forward. It's not, you wouldn't think it would be a controversial issue, but it is simply trying to bring a recreation amenity to a community to improve the quality of life for its citizens. No more, no less. And at every step, the school board, the Recreation District Board of Directors, and City Council worked with the goal in mind of what do the citizens want? Not what do we want as individual boards or individual directors, but what do we want as a community? And that shaped the foundation of the entire process to the point where we had more participation and community engagement than communities 10, 15 times our size. To the point where consultants are coming up. How did you get that kind of engagement? We're not seeing this anywhere else. What are you doing? And it comes back to, in a lot of ways, in my mind, leadership and people like Adam and Ryan, who are constantly looking at how do we make this community better? What can we do to serve the community? A lot of times people don't get to see what's going on behind the scenes. I can tell you that in pulling back the curtain, it was amazing watching the dedication of these two individuals, of the city council members that took part, of the Recreation District Board of Directors, and the school board. And what's also encouraging is that they're still going, what can we do? How can we help? To the point where a split board on, do we even continue to talk about this, from last Monday and Tuesday are now unanimously on Wednesday going, all right, let's get to the table. How can we do this? What can we do to work together to have this to do a reality? There are a couple of harsh realities when it comes to commercial public pools, and I'm sorry about my time, Mr. Mayor. But there are a couple of harsh realities, and that is, I hate to say it, tax dollars fund pools. People may not like that, but that is part of the reality, and it funds construction and operations. Are there other ways? Potentially. We're going to look at it. We're going to give the community a chance to get involved in that process. But I am here first and foremost to say thank you. There are times when you feel like, as a special district, you may be out on an island. You have one role, one job. Ours is Parks and Recreation within the community and to improve the quality of life. And what we found out through this entire process, we were never alone. Whether it's these government entities that I've mentioned or the incredible work of people that came up, said, how can we help? How can we get involved? And that was very rewarding. And I think the great thing is the professionalism, the commitment to community, and me as executive director of the Rec District, just want to say thank you to Ryan Stevens and Adam Hartman, because in all phases, it was never about them. It was always about the community and what we can do to help, and they acted with professionalism at all times. And I just wanted to recognize them, recognize the council, the two boards, for all their time and effort over the last 2.5+ years. And the work isn't done. I guess we're still trying to figure things out, but this is us just saying thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Kyle.
All right.
Thank you a lot. Okay, there are no other people that wanted to speak to council. So let's go on to council members' announcements and updates. Emily.
Just want to alert the community and council to the fact that tomorrow is the regular monthly meeting of the Community Advisory Group for the Lincoln Park Cotter Superfund site. And as usual, we meet at 3 p.m. in a classroom at the PCC campus just west of town, and also by Zoom. Welcome anybody who might be interested to get involved with that. We generally do not meet in December, so try to connect with tomorrow's meeting. If you can't, then January will be the next meeting.
Thank you, Emily. Anyone else? Amy.
Thanks. Hopefully my last update on Red Canyon Park in a while, but I did just want to let folks know that GOCO has recommended the city's grant application for approval. We should get the final determination in March of next year. But again, this is for formalizing the campgrounds that we have up there, really fixing up the road quite a bit, and then also enabling us to have a campground host up there, similar to the model that we have at the Royal Gorge campground. So it's a pretty it's a pretty sizable investment. And I think it's one of only 3 that were recommended for full funding out of a very oversubscribed list. So huge kudos to Rex Brady and Brandy, the City Parks Department, and the grant writer. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. Anyone else? Then we have Wednesday, we have Vision Committee. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
5 o'clock here?
That is correct.
We don't have a URA, do we?
No URA. It's
Okay.
just the vision.
Okay. Then at this time, we will go forward with, is Butch here? Butch, come on out. You employee recognition.
I'm a little hurt. It's the second meeting of the month, and you questioned whether I was going to be here.
No, I just, I did. Thank you. I'm so sorry.
Good evening, Mayor, Mayor Pro
You were-
Tem,
you were
council
sort of-
members,
you were sort of
other
lurking.
distinguished guests of the
Well, you were
dais.
lurking in the shadows back there, so,
I lurk a lot.
oh, okay.
So as you're aware, the second meeting of the month, we always recognize employees who are experiencing a milestone of employment with the city. This month, we have 2 individuals that we're recognizing. Unfortunately, one of them couldn't join us, but that's Sue Dame. Sue is being recognized for 5 years of employment with the city. On November 17th, 2020, Sue was hired as the Deputy Municipal Court Clerk a position which she continues to hold and excel at. Then the other member that we have here this evening that's also being recognized for 5 years of service, you may or may not know him. He gets around the community quite a bit, but that would be our chief, John Schick. John, if you want to come up. So on November 30th, 2020, John was hired as the chief of police for the city of Canyon City, a position he continues to hold and also excel at. And as is our custom, we always ask the supervisor of the employee being recognized to give a little more information than I can give about the individual. And so I will turn it over to Ryan for that.
Thank you, Butch. John, you've got a whole crew here tonight.
Here for this battle.
Yeah. I've got some really great things to say about Chief. You know, he's been here 5 years, and sometimes that probably feels like yesterday, and sometimes it probably feels like a long, long time ago. Chief came to this organization wanting to make a difference, wanting to give back to his profession and really make a difference and help our young agency grow. And I think you've done that, Chief. I really appreciate all of the hard work that you do and your big heart. I know how much you put in for community engagement. Shop with a Cop was something that we didn't really do very much, and that has turned into a annual tradition now. And your Coffees with a Cop and everything else that you've done to put our PD in front of the community and try and make them as accessible as possible, and really with that idea of community policing in mind. And I know we have a lot of new officers that just are getting spun up, and I know that with the leadership team that you've put together, that they're in good hands to become great officers in our community. So thank you very much for everything that you've done.
Thank you. John,
Now,
would you
if
like?
I could get, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say if I could get counsel down in front of the dais.
I do have a comment.
Okay.
A further comment. Since I've been, actually, before I started on council, and since I've been on council, I've been privileged to participate in 4 essentially executive searches, of which John Schick is the result of one of them. And I can say, well, I got 1 out of 4. That's batting 250. Congratulations for being here, Chief, and we really do appreciate you being here. Thank you, sir.
Yeah, let's go down front and we'll take a picture, okay?
Oh, good. I can eat.
Is it all right?
Good job. Thank you.
Continuing on, we'll do the consent agenda, and I'd ask the city administrator to cover that for us.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Before I start the consent agenda, we would like to remove, staff would request that we remove item 11C from the agenda. We have some updates. We found some errors in the spreadsheets, so that we want to make corrections to that and bring that back. Item on the consent agenda, item 8A, is to approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting on November 3rd, the general government meeting on November 5th, and the special meeting on October 28th, which was the art committee, and November 3rd, which was an executive session. 8B authorizes the city administrator to sign a CDOT contract amendments 24573 for 4 Mile Lane bridge rehabilitation. 8C authorizes the city administrator to sign a CDOT contract amendment. This is 26911 for the First Street Bridge rehabilitation. 8D authorizes the city administrator to sign a service agreement with Drexel Barrel and Company for the 5th Street water main. 8E authorizes the city administrator to sign a professional services agreement with Icon Engineering for drafting assistance. 8F awards bid 16-25 Centennial Park Riverbank stabilization to Avalanche Excavating in an amount not to exceed $84,922.50. 8G awards bid 84-25 security software renewal to Insight Public Sector, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $27,707.47. 8H awards bid 89-25 Dell storage servers to Insight Public Sector, Inc. in an amount not to exceed $95,438.06. 8I approves Park Center Water District reimbursement and tap fee waiver in an amount not to exceed $8,360. 8J accepts and awards the community agency funding recommendation. 8K is to receive and file the 2024 cost allocation plan. 8L is to receive and file monthly budget summary for September of 25. And 8M is to receive and file cash disbursements and P-card disbursements.
Thank you, Ryan. Are there any questions of the administrator? Amy?
Thank you. I have I have a comment, I guess, on 8J, and then I have several questions on 8K, which is the cost allocation plan. That's how we determine what funding all of the various city departments pay to the Water and Stormwater Fund. I do have enough questions to where I think it may be appropriate to pull it off of the consent agenda and put it on the regular agenda, but I'm also happy to just ask them as part of the consent agenda if you'd prefer.
What's council think? We have Tammy here right now. Do you want to just ask questions now?
Sure.
Do that.
So we do have, there are two different ways that the allocations are made. One is with employees tracking the information. The other is based on the number of FTE in a department. So if we have 30% of the city staff in the water department, that means that 30% of the costs for mayor and council, city clerk, city administrator, public information officer, city attorney, memberships, other liability insurance premiums are paid by the water department. It also means that I didn't do the percentage for stormwater, but we have 3 stormwater employees out of 169, 175. So that percentage of all of those are paid by that department. I don't think that city attorneys, for example, would spend 30% of their time on the water department because we have specific water attorneys for water issues. I don't think that the public information officer spends 30% of their time on the water department. I don't think that we spend 30% of our time on the water department. I don't think that this is an appropriate way for us to determine what amount each of the city departments should be paying towards water and stormwater. I understand that it may be the easiest way on these departments because there aren't specific activities and tasks that they are doing, but I don't think that it's appropriate.
Do you want to direct, is that a question to Tammy or Ryan or both, or is that it?
Please explain to me how it is appropriate.
So we did reach out to the consultant that performs our annual cost allocation. The FTE counts as an allocation basis. What they say is the cost allocation plan is prepared using allocation methodologies deemed acceptable by federal cognizant agencies and consistent with the best practices used in the development of cost allocation plans for thousands of local governments across the country. However, with all cost allocation efforts, it is important to note that any method of distribution can be used which will produce an equitable distribution of cost. In selecting one allocation method over another, consideration is given to the additional staffing effort that would be required to achieve a greater degree of accuracy as well as the ability of the data requested. In the absence of the data that would yield a more equitable allocation of costs, an alternative allocation metric is implemented. In our cost allocation plan, FTEs or employee counts are used to allocate costs associated with the mayor and council, city clerk, city administrator, public information officer, human resources, payroll, city attorney contract membership, and then other liability insurance premiums. One thing to note is that any costs that have been directly billed to any of the utility funds, whether it be water or stormwater, they're given credit for those. So, for instance, a portion of finances, salaries are charged directly to water. So when you read through the plan, you will see a credit for allocated expenses already. So that helps reduce it in the future. And then also there's other expenses that are not allocated out. We charge directly for the contract with Hoffman, with our city attorneys. We charge that directly out. There's a portion that stays in general fund. So there are some costs that even though the department is shown there, some of the costs are not allocated. They're not allocated out.
So as an example on the attorneys, the water attorney is more for water rights. Our city attorney still deals with employment issues, which, you know, if you have 30% of your workforce in the water department, those are still, you know, reasons that the city attorney is involved. City attorney still deals with contracts along with various other things, contracting with vendors, and I'm sure Catherine may be able to mention some other things that they do on the water department side, but it's not just because we have a water attorney that the city attorney isn't doing anything for the water department.
I understand that, but I still would posit that for the vast majority of these departments, an FTE or employee account doesn't actually give us an equitable distribution of work. When I think, like, for example, city council, our costs, minimal though they are, 30% of those are charged to the water department. We do not spend 30% of our time on water. Like, the number of employees that are in the water department has no bearing on how much of our time is spent on water. I certainly agree that it probably is appropriate for human resources and payroll, because those are things that are directly tied to employee account. But on a lot of these other departments, I just don't think that, like, employee count really has anything to do with how much time that particular department spends. But tell me if I'm wrong. Based on what I see and what comes forward to council, it just doesn't seem reasonable.
The other item that Lucas did point out is he said the allocation methodologies were determined through information gathering interviews that were conducted with allocated departments. So we have met with the consultant, and that has, we did that initially to figure out what the best way to allocate the costs were. He said, aside from human resources and payroll, those costs are directly tied to the number of employees served. They could not identify other data points or reports that would identify a level of effort or services to provided to various departments. For example, the mayor and city council costs are associated with city leadership rather than any individual activity or function for a specific department or set of departments. As there is no data available that would allow us to identify a level of service provided by the department, we must use an alternative allocation metric. FTE counts are the generally accepted method of doing so, and the method has been accepted by federal and state negotiators for decades now. So that's where they're also basing this, because a lot of the cost allocation plans that they do tie back to federal grants, and they are able to get that as use that as the basis for reimbursement under some of those plans. And I know it still doesn't provide you the information you want. The other item is that if we were to go in and track, there's not an easy way to track an agenda, each agenda item as to whether it's water general government, whatever it is, to easily compile that data for them. So that's that would be the only data points you'd be able to count for city council. And just because you have an agenda item on there for one meeting doesn't mean that, when you've had 4 or 5 other meetings that tie to that. So they feel that that is the most equitable way to do it, is by the FTE count. And we've also this has been consistent for the last, I know, since at least the 2019 cost allocation plan. So the methodology has also been, the allocation method has been the same over that period of time.
Please.
Let me jump in here a little bit. When you have an organization that acts as an umbrella for other organizations, and that the main organization provides certain services that the lower organizations, like in the case we're talking about, the city versus the water department, or the city versus stormwater. Stormwater can't have their own attorneys. They can't have their own HR. They don't get their own city council. But I think the point that Councilmember Schmischer is making is that there's also a smell test to be applied here, and that if the numbers result in something that doesn't make sense, you've got to either change your strategy or adjust the numbers based on your accumulated, hopefully, knowledge and wisdom in running the allocations. And so even though I would ask whether the cost allocation company that we use to do this does principal work with municipalities, or whether they're doing their principal work with companies. With companies, it's a different story, because the company, even when you have divisions in a company, they all get a share of the board, the chairman and chief executive officer. They'll get a share of that, and that's appropriate. And it's appropriate for stormwater to pay part of the IT costs of this organization. But I think that's a good point. That I didn't pick up the exact percentages in reviewing this for tonight, but if the numbers don't make sense, there needs to be something else done. And I have a kind of a different way to ask this same question. Does this plan create the expectation that the city, in order to pass an audit, has to redo this plan on a periodic basis?
The reason that we do the cost allocation on an annual basis is to ensure that the utility funds are paying the appropriate amount to general fund for the services that they receive from them.
Sure.
We have adjusted the transfers based on this. You will see in our 2026 budget that transfer from water to general fund has significantly decreased from what we proposed to what we are recommending being adopted. And it was based on the cost allocation plan. In the past, and this was prior to 2019, the cost allocation plan was done in-house, and it was done based on budgeted figures. You know how budgeted figures are compared to our actuals. After 2019, we switched and we went based on actual figures, and we had a company, we contracted with a company to perform the cost allocation plan. This is the second company that we've used, because we did have a contract awarded for, initially it was 3 years, and then we did an additional 3 years. Both of the firms that have completed them do work with municipalities. So they are very familiar with either cities or counties or states. So they do work with governments.
Do you feel this is that this cost allocation plan that we have now does allocate cost fairly and equitably among the various sub-entities that we have in the city?
I think it does. We also work with the departments to get a allocation of their time spent. For instance, our streets department, they provide how much time their concrete crew spends in for water or stormwater or general fund. The asphalt crew, the same thing. Same thing with the street sweeper. We also ask that of the engineering department to break down their time. Finance does the same thing. City clerk does the same thing. And so we review that portion every year. Those allocations, those percentages might change every year, but it is the same basis. We don't switch from using FTEs one year to doing an effort analysis the next year and then back to an FTE. So we've established basically what we want to have as our baseline of the allocation, and we keep using that methodology for certain departments.
And the departments also use a tool or system called Cartograph that helps them track their time, not only their time, but the time of the resources, equipment and things like that. So when they're working on those various projects for a different fund, it all gets tracked in the Cartograph system.
So the other question to ask then, is it fair and equitable for the water department to pay 30% of the costs associated with council? That's the point. I think that's the point. And I think that, so, if you do a cost allocation, and what I think I just heard you say is that over the years we've used different methods, and this we like overall. It appears to be pretty good, gets us to where we want to be, which is a fair and equitable allocation of costs for the various entities that make up the city. But nonetheless, Councilmember Schmischer is pointing out some numbers that don't make sense. I mean, it doesn't make sense for 30% of council to be allocated to almost any other enterprise fund, for sure, because that's not what we do for them. So maybe as a way forward, Councilmember Schmischer, maybe what you need to do is identify the particular numbers or allocations. The other thing I wanted to say is that when you're happy with a cost allocation plan, you don't need to keep redoing it every year unless there's major changes, unless you add a new enterprise fund or something like that. You don't need to be redoing it. You'll see movement in the numbers, some up, some down. But on the whole, if you carry that out for a number of years, you'll find that there's an average that applies and can be applied on a yearly basis. And so that's the other point that I wanted to make is that once you have a good cost allocation plan and the actual percentages for the different departments to allocate out among the entities, you don't really need to do a cost allocation plan again, I don't think, unless that was my original question. Is this driven by something else other than a desire to be fair and equitable? I think that if the numbers don't make sense, then we need to change the numbers.
Okay, I'd like to draw this to a conclusion. We're getting, I think, winded too much here. I think that's also something that was part of and should have been part of the budget analysis or path that we went on, and we don't have to debate it tonight, okay?
So we are being asked to receive and file this full cost allocation
Do you
plan.
want to pull
and
it off the agenda?
I will not vote for the consent agenda. I will vote against it as it is. I have identified the line items that I have questions with, including 85% of street sweeping being charged to stormwater and other things, but I don't think it's appropriate for me to say, ooh, I think that the public information officer spends 20% of her time on water. I think that city staff needs to do it. But yes, I would love to pull it off the agenda if city staff feels that there is additional work that they can do on it. If they don't, then I don't think that there's really, I don't know that there's really a point to pulling it off the agenda if they don't think that there are any changes that need to be made.
Yeah, I don't think that there's any changes that we can make for the, this is the 2024 cost allocation plan. There are things that we could look at, if there are these concerns, we could look at this moving forward on the 2025 cost allocation plan.
Yeah, this was for 2024, not current. This is something that's 2 years ago that passed. What are you shaking your head at?
I'm agreeing with you. It is for calendar year 2024, but monies will be transferred from the city to the water department. Sorry, other way around. Monies will be transferred from the Water Enterprise Fund and the Stormwater Fund based on us approving this document. So yes, this happened in the past, but it's very much germane to how much people's water and stormwater bills are.
But we could change that in future budgets, allocations.
Sure, for 2025, yeah. But
So why don't you leave it on the agenda and then you can do it for 2025?
it appears that that is the will of council. I did have one comment on another agenda item. I had the pleasure of serving on the community agency funding panel with John, and just wanted to thank multimedia technician Brandon Mayers and finance director Tammy Nordyke and grant writer and our city grant writer for their work on it. It's always so wonderful to see all of the 501c3s that we have operating in Canyon City and the fantastic work that they're doing. And I'm glad that we're able to set aside a small bit of funding each year to further those efforts, from loaner life jackets to supporting our CASA court-appointed special advocate volunteers. And while unfortunately the requests far outstripped the amount of funding that we were able to set aside, and we weren't able to fund all of them, it is wonderful to know that we can continue to support some of these efforts and activities supporting quality of life and youth education in Canyon City. So thank you.
Thank you.
And
Emily?
Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. My question is in regard to 8L,
Sure.
and I don't think it'll take an extensive discussion. On page 239, it's showing water department operating revenue. In other words, revenue coming in through the water bills that people pay through the third quarter, through September. And I just noted that there's a budget variance of a little over $1 million. In other words, in 3/4 of the year, we received a little bit more than $1 million more than we had budgeted. And the question I had asked earlier by email was just does that suggest we need to budget a little bit differently for that fund in the future? Does it relate at all to the work that's been done on the proposed new water rates? And I don't have any large concern about it. I just thought it was worth pointing out that unlike some of our other funds where sales tax is down, the water department revenues are looking good, so good for the water department. I'll just leave it at that.
John?
Sure, thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I do want to thank you, Tammy, for the work that you and your department have done on the cost allocation plan. It really is appreciated, and congratulations on producing a product that maybe is 85% there, maybe. But I did want to make note on page C3, Schedule A, that 100% of the behavioral health was allocated to finance. Was there a particular reason? That's my humor.
Because we need it.
Okay, well, whatever. All right, let's move on. I'd like to then have a motion.
I'm
we
ready to
done?
do that.
Would you please get me out of this?
I
Thank
move
you.
that we approve the agenda and consent agenda.
Removing 11C.
Yes.
Thank you, yes.
And second?
Second.
Been made? Discussion on that motion? Would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Councilmember Maloney?
Aye.
Councilmember Schmisher?
Nay.
Councilmember Stein?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracy?
Aye.
Councilmember Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Nay.
Thank you, Tammy.
Thank you.
Brian. I'm going to go ahead and move 11A, the discussion 11B. I want to bring it forward now. There's no sense to keep our gentleman in the back room waiting at a very long period of time. So at this time, I want to have, I would invite 11B, which is it is an introduction and adoption by title only of Resolution 17, Series 2025, entitled "A Resolution of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, approving a sabbatical program for the Canyon City Police Department." And I would ask for a staff report from either the Chief Schick or from Ryan.
We'll have Chief Schick give the report.
Okay?
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Second time at bat here. We're going to try and get it right tonight. Let me start by saying the sabbatical leave resolution recommendation submitted for your consideration this evening. It has long been recognized both through research and lived experience that law enforcement personnel endure profound and often cumulative negative health effects as a result of their service. Globally, 1 in every 7 police officers suffer from post-traumatic stress disorder, and 1 in 10 struggle from other mental illnesses. These are not abstract statistics. They represent the lived reality of the men and women who serve our communities with courage and integrity. Historically, our profession has not adequately accounted for the personal and professional toll exacted by repeated exposure to trauma. Officers routinely encounter gruesome crime scenes, face life-threatening situations, witness the death or injury of colleagues, and are involved in critical incidents that demand split-second decision-making, often with life-altering decisions. These experiences, while often borne with stoicism, come at a cost. Officers are 54% more likely to die by suicide than the general population, and career law enforcement professionals face a significantly reduced quality of life when left unaddressed. Unlike most professions, police officers are immersed daily in the most tragic and volatile aspects of society. They are called upon when things are not going well, but when crisis strikes. This constant exposure to human suffering and danger can distort perception, foster emotional fatigue, and impair decision-making. While officers continue to serve with distinction and resolve, we must acknowledge that every peace officer has a threshold, and that threshold is not a sign of weakness, but of humanity. While we cannot control the volume or severity of their emergency calls, we can and must control how we support our officers in managing the psychological and emotional burdens of this work. At the Canyon City Police Department, we have taken proactive steps through peer support, wellness screenings, and access to clinical services, and also a canine therapy program. These initiatives are vital, but they are not sufficient of their own. To that end, I respectfully recommend that City Council endorse and implement a sabbatical leave benefit for our sworn personnel. This program will provide structured, restorative time away from duty for officers who have served through years of high-stress assignments, critical incidents, and cumulative trauma. It is a forward-thinking investment in the longevity, wellness, and operational readiness of our department. By adopting this resolution, the City of Canyon City would join a growing number of agencies nationwide that recognize the necessity of proactive mental health strategies, not only as a matter of compassion, but as a matter of public safety and organizational resilience. If the mayor and council will permit me, I would like to extend an opportunity to have our clinical psychologist and peer support services managing clinician, Dr. Judith Long, come up and say a few words. Dr. Long.
Thank you, Chief. So I won't rehash all those operational stressors that the Chief just listed for you. You're aware that the job that our officers do is unlike any other job out there, and that means that it requires a special set of services to be able to help them. And so that sabbatical program that's being proposed is one way to do that, and I agree. It is part of a larger set of clinical services that are being offered to our police officers. But it's an important one because that time off is that break that allows them to have that recovery and that rejuvenation. And it's during that time that they have a chance to not only rebuild and recover, themselves mentally, physically, but also have an opportunity to be with their families and rebuild some of those relationships. Because the job that they do also impacts their families. And they make sacrifices. Their families make sacrifices. They make sacrifices with time with their family. So to have dedicated time to be able to spend with them would be super beneficial. And it also, when they come back refreshed, what the research shows is that they come back and they're better at doing their job. They're better at that decision making that requires that speedy reaction. They're also less burned out, so they have improved community relations, so those things go better on the streets for them. And I think that the way that the sabbatical program is designed here in the proposal is very smart, right? We're not saying, oh, hey, here are your 30 days, just do whatever you want with them. We're taking a very clinical approach to them where they meet with people to assess, like, what do I need and what do I need to do with this 30 days to make it most beneficial for me and for my family? And with that, they also get the resources that they need. So we're not just kind of sending them off like, okay, figure it out on your own. We're like, here's some things you can work on, and here are the resources we have to help you do that effectively. So I really appreciate the city being so forward-thinking and really being open to this proposal. So thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you, council members.
Thank you, Dr. Long.
Thank
my
you, Dr.
backup.
Long. John, would you like to ask a question?
It was a question for Dr. Long, but yes, if you would return, I would like to. Dr. Long, have you been involved in such a program before?
I have not been personally involved, but I have read about them, and I did do research on them to see how effective they were.
Great, thank you very much.
Thank you. Chief, would you have to add any more?
No, sir, Mr. Mayor. I just, again, thank you for your time and thoughtful consideration, and I'll welcome any questions that you might have regarding the policy or resolution.
Any questions from council? I'll see my light's not lighting up here. Right?
There's a saying about gift horses.
Okay. So then, at this time, if there are no questions, I would ask for a motion and a second.
Mayor, I move that we vote on resolution number 17, series of 2025, a resolution of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, approving a sabbatical program for the Canyon City Police Department.
Second.
Made and second, was that a tie? We're going to give it to Kathy then. Thank you so much. Any discussion on that motion? Would you call a roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
gentlemen. Kathy, did you have something you want to add? Oh, you were going to make the motion. Okay, very good. Well, now I've got everything all confused for you. So let's go back to the administrator's report. Ryan, would you like to give a report this time?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. You have the written report. I think the big thing from the written report is that with the ballot measure for 2.25 excise tax failing for operations of the pool, the city and the recreation district are working to form a working group to discuss a path forward and looking for council members who may be interested in participating with that working group. I see a hand.
I'm not part of a lot of groups, so I'll do it.
You're going to add one more? Yeah, okay. And Amy?
Will that group be open to citizen representation?
I don't know that we've gotten that far yet, but we will start working that way. Just need to know who from the city is going to be on that, and then we'll start meeting with the rec district to figure out the path forward.
Thank you. My term does expire in January, and if there is citizen representation available, I'd be interested.
Okay, good to know. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Any other comments you'd like to make at this time? You want to grill Ryan on anything? I guess not, huh? Okay. Amy, go ahead.
Thanks. I know that there was significant discussion in our joint special meeting last week between the Rec Board and City Council regarding the continued collection of the 0.3% sales tax for pool construction, and that if the city did want to put a moratorium on that or stop that, that decision would have needed to be made this evening. Could you just speak a little bit about that? Thanks.
Yeah, I believe the direction at that meeting last Tuesday from council, the consensus was to go ahead and continue to collect. I think that's what part of this working group is, to figure out if there is a path forward and a timeline. The next opportunity for the city to ask the state to stop collecting, we would have to let them know 45 days in advance of July 1st. So if we're backing out of that, if you had two ordinances, you're probably looking at some type of decision in April to at least start having that discussion, having that on the agenda to stop collection, if that's a path the council at that time wants to do.
So based on the working group conversations, that would let us hopefully know over the next 5 months whether or not there is a viable path forward.
That is correct.
And as, just to remind us, the terms of the IGA that the city and the rec district have already entered into, no additional funds can be spent by the rec district until that intergovernmental agreement is amended, or if it is amended.
Yeah, if it's amended and how it's amended. I think a lot remains to be seen.
Okay, so those funds would just continue to be collected and held so that a decision could be made.
That is correct. They will continue to be held in that special fund. If the city decides to stop collecting, then there would have to be some type of vote of the people to decide what to do with the remaining funds that have been collected.
Thank you.
Thank you, Amy. More for Ryan? Okay, thank you, Ryan. Okay, at this time, I'd like to go on to number 10, which is a public hearing. This is a continuation of a public hearing on the continuation of the budget hearing from October 22nd, 2025, and we have Tammy back at the mic.
Could you please open the public hearing?
Didn't I say that? I'd like to open the public hearing at this time. Thank you. I said reopen, didn't I? I thought I did. Okay. Okay, we're open. Go ahead, Tammy.
Okay. Let me get to the correct page here. So after our October 22nd budget hearing, some changes have been made to our proposed budget. General fund has changes of, did I get a total here? My goodness. General fund increased from $24,307,883 to $24,589,270, which is an increase of $281,387. Not all departments were changed. Our facilities maintenance department's budget decreased by $4,900, and that was mainly from the allocation of personnel. Finance department increased $11,250 because I had not originally put all of our training in, so that is now accounted for. Non-departmental decreases include $150,000 for the C-Care increment payment. We decreased contracted local nonprofit funding by $5,000, and then we increased legal services by $85,000. The building department decreased by $175, and this was for the longevity pay for the part-time employee. It was originally budgeted at the amount that a full-time employee receives, so we did make that change. Our planning and zoning department was decreased by $12,000, and that was to remove some software. Also in non-departmental was our transfer out. That increased by $2,800, and that is to the water fund. That is essentially for the potential economic development incentive for the golf course as it relates to water rates. The law enforcement support and admin increased $658, and that is to account for the carry forward of leftover donations from the Junior Law Enforcement Academy. Also in the police department, we carried forward $140,000 for vehicles that were ordered in 2025, and they're not arriving until 2026. We were anticipating them arriving in December. They may be arriving in January and February. Fleet maintenance personnel decreased by $4,875, and that was also changing the allocation of our admin too. Public Works, in the streets department, personnel also decreased by $4,875 for the same reason. Engineering also decreased in personnel by $4,875. We did have the water admin 2 position. Initially, it was supposed to oversee all of the admin clerks. That has not been happening, and so all of the admin 2's costs are now accounted for in the water department. Also engineering, we decreased software titles by $25,000. Our Public Works projects in general fund, we did increase the street resurfacing line item, and that includes the $400,000 for a potential project with the developer that will be brought to council in the future. This is the project that is in conjunction with the URA and the developer. The ditch crossings were reduced to the annual $200,000 funding plus the carryover from 2025, so that was reduced by $148,621. The museum's budget increased by $2,000 for historic preservation. There's some signs that they're working on that covers that cost. So that's the changes in general fund. Water fund had a decrease of $394,094. Those changes include reallocating the water in the water administration department. We removed the water admin clerk 2 and put all of their costs in water distribution. So there was $58,260 removed from personnel in water admin. Then the increased the economic development incentive by $2,800, and we reduced the transfer to the general fund by $552,484. That is a direct result of the cost allocation plan and going through and ensuring that what has been paid over the years and the repayment have happened appropriately. Water treatment shows a decrease of $20,000, and that was in their capital. That has actually moved to the water projects capital. Water distribution personnel increased by $88,850, and that's the all-in benefits and salary for water admin 2. The water projects, we reduced the potential grant expense by $500,000. We moved the we basically reallocated $1,220,000 to individual line items, which included $965,000, we moved that from the city water projects line to an additional one. And I'm sure Travis can tell me what that 965 was, because I didn't put it on here. And then we have the $700,000. That one is for, I think, what, the lead service lines? And then we also increased a carryover by 200,000. Our Parks Improvement Fund decreased by $620,335. Personnel costs decreased by $19,335 for the water admin too. We moved $16,000 to the Conservation Trust Fund for the rubberized playground material. We moved the $450,000 grant for Red Canyon improvements to the Quality of Life Fund. We increased the water utility line item by $35,000. We decreased the carryover for the riverbank stabilization by $200,000, and we did add $30,000 for carryover for the cemetery design project. Conservation Trust Fund increased by $16,000, which is for the rubberized playground material. Library Donation Fund increased by $10,000. There's $5,500 for small items of equipment, $2,500 for publications and advertising, and $2,000 for books, magazines, and media. This is from a donation that we received this year that they're not able to spend until next year. Quality of Life Fund increased $450,000, and that is from the Red Canyon grant. And that is the changes that were made to the proposed budget to what you're seeing for the adopted budget. And that is all I have.
Are there questions for Tammy? Amy?
Thank you, and thanks so much. I know how much of your time is taken up throughout the entire year, but especially in October and November. Thanks as well for I know a lot of work had to go into these changes because of the revisions on the expected revenue. So just thank you for the countless hours that I'm sure you, Ryan, and your staff put into it. I did have just a couple, maybe 3 questions. I did want to make sure on the Parks Improvement Fund, I believe that the original budget included a park pavilion use fee of the $25, which council provided direction that we did not want to see, but I didn't see that noted as a change.
What we are adopting are the expenditures in the budget. The revenue to support it does not include the $25 for the park pavilion fee. So we had,
great.
Yes, so that revenue has been removed.
No, it does not. Wonderful. It looks like there were changes that were made in the Economic Development General Fund, but there aren't specifics as to line items that increased or decreased. It's just a proposed and adopted, but perhaps I'm not understanding the changes chart correctly.
Let me get back to that.
Is that on page 255?
My pages are not numbered.
Your pages are not numbered.
Is that the first green chart
getting there.
page?
Bottom of the line.
Yes.
There was no change in economic development.
Okay. So there were no
I
changes
tried
to the line
to
items.
put the colors kind of together with the blank line in between. So their original budget and their proposed, or the adopted, will be the same amount.
Okay, and there weren't changes within line items?
Not in economic development. The only, we did not make changes within economic development between the line items, correct? Because I provided the ones that we actually had changes up or down in the department.
Okay. And then my last comment is just, thank you for providing the updated Clock Tower Plaza plan. The city budget, I take it, still includes $900,000 to enact that plan. I think the changes, like based on the update, it doesn't sound like a lot of the, I mean, the restrooms are still in there and a stage is still in there, but it doesn't sound like most of the amenities that people were particularly excited about are in there. And I am concerned about spending $900,000 on Clock Tower, not of grant funding, but of city funding on relatively minor updates to Clock Tower Plaza when we don't have a plan for how we will actually activate it. I'm concerned that it could become an attractive nuisance, similar to Macon Plaza, where, you know, it's a place that people congregate because it isn't activated. So I am not in favor of spending $900,000 of our money next year on it. Similarly, I'm concerned that we will have we have a lovely Eastern Gateway Plaza that the Chamber has put together, and I understand they'll be coming in the near future to give us their plans for the park area there. And I'm really excited about the Western Gateway Plaza and think that it's off to a great start, and I'm concerned that we are expecting a final design by June 30th of 2026, but we haven't allocated any funds for initial work on the Western Gateway Plaza, including, some things that I know our community, including the commercial rafting companies, are really excited about seeing soon. So I'm concerned that we're, on the one hand, allocating quite a bit of funds that won't actually get us where I think the community was excited to go on Clock Tower Plaza, while on the other hand, not allocating anything for something that is kind of the other main entryway to our community. So for those reasons, I'm not in favor of the budget as it currently stands. But if any of those things have changed, and I didn't hear it tonight and didn't see it in the documentation, but if any of those things have changed, I would certainly welcome that news. Thanks.
Yeah, well, Clock Tower Plaza will have the stage, it will have the shade sails, it will have parking for food trucks and hookups. Leo, what else am I missing as far as Clock Tower Plaza goes? Bathrooms, thank you. I think the misting poles were removed.
The tables, the incubator spaces were also X'd out. So I'm not sure where people would be sitting and hanging out under the shade sails, and certainly the incubator spaces and that concept, I think, was how the city was planning for it to be activated.
Yeah, so I think the incubator space will not be there, but we are still planning on putting the pad sites in for food trucks, so there can still be activation there. Leo, what else?
I think there is a line item in the Parks Improvement Fund for Main Street furnishings that was intended to purchase some of the furnishings. Those are not an eligible DOLA grant expense, so we tracked those separately. So there is still intent to do the furniture and that at the site as well.
That's great to hear. Thanks.
Okay, John.
Thank you. Just a question. One of the things that we did for the 2024 budget was increase our property tax mills. It was a trivial increase, like, an inflationary one or something like that.
I think, if I'm recalling correctly, we didn't necessarily increase the mills, but we would be receiving slightly more from the same amount of mills.
Due to the increase in property values.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah.
For 2024, I think we just did not enact the abatement. Is that correct, Tammy?
That is correct.
And how is that handled on this year's, in the 2025 budget? 2026 budget?
In the 26 budget, we did the same thing. We did not enact the abatement.
And that will be coming to City Council at the December 1st?
December
meeting?
1st, I believe.
The December 1st meeting to adopt the mill levy.
I'm assuming, Mayor Pro Tem, that you are in support of an abatement, and I certainly am as well.
It's like .00, is it 01 or something like that? It is, because I think it's $1,300 that we can collect.
It's
I
a
think
small
it was
number,
13.
but it's an important concept for citizens and concern for citizens that if, as property taxes go up, they pay more, the city is taking more, and it would be nice if we could just hold that steady.
And I think, if I may, I would say that that's true for both property tax line items, so both the regular property tax and the abatement. So regular property tax, it's still not a significant amount of money from a city budgetary perspective, but it is important, from my perspective at least, that we hold people's property taxes that we are asking them to pay steady, particularly given the socioeconomics of our community and what folks are going through right now. Thanks.
Okay, any other questions of Tammy, or now that we threw Leo into the mix, Leo and Ryan? Anybody from the public would like to come up and comment on the budget, the changes? I see some smiling faces. None, huh? Okay. Then at this time, I would like to close the public hearing. And let's move on to I. This is introduction and adoption by title only of Resolution 18, Series 2025, entitled, "A Resolution of the City Council of the," that doesn't sound right, "A Resolution of the City Council of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, summarizing the expenditures and revenues for each fund and adopting a budget for the City of Canyon City, Colorado, for the calendar year beginning on the first day of January 2026 and ending on the last day of December 2026. Emily.
I move for approval of resolution number 18, series of 2025, adopting the budget.
Second.
Second, Kathy, thank you. Any discussions on that motion? Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Nay.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Nay.
Okay, thank you. Let's move on to H, introduction and first reading by title only of Ordinance 18, Series 2025, entitled, "An Ordinance of the City of Canyon City, Colorado, appropriating sums of money to various funds in the amounts and for the purpose as set forth below for the City of Canyon City, Colorado for the 2026 budget year." I'd ask for a motion and a second. Emily, go ahead.
I move for approval of ordinance number 18, series of 2025 on first reading. Sorry. I move for approval of ordinance number 18, series of 2025 on first reading.
I'll second.
Second, thank you, Jerry. Any discussion on that motion? Would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, we're getting close to getting back on track here. Let's go on to 11, which is discussion. An allocation of contingency funds to support school district employees affected by SNAP benefit disruptions. Would you like to give a rendition, Ryan?
Actually, Councilmember Schmisher, this is
it's yours.
your proposed item. Is this something you'd like to cover?
Sure, I'd be happy to. And I also want to recognize that we have the superintendent of the school district who made the request in the audience. So I'll just give a brief overview, and then if I may, turn it over to him. When we had SNAP disruptions with the federal government shutdown in the beginning of October, I reached out to the local nonprofits that provide food and other basic essentials to our community to ascertain if they needed additional support and kind of what their current operating status was. One one component that folks may not think about that often is the backpack program. We have Loaves and Fishes supports the school district by providing backpacks for kids to take home with them. And that also began a conversation with the school district about what needs they may have. There are many individuals within our school district who work as paraprofessionals and rely on federal government benefits, including SNAP. So they quite rightfully have conducted a survey and identified that some of their employees were in need of additional support. So when I let these community entities know that we may have additional unallocated funds within our budget in the form of our city council potential projects fund, and just asked all of them to please reach out if they did have needs that were not being met by donations within the community or within their own general funds. So last week or the week before, the school district reached out about their concern about some of their staff members. So
Okay.
with that,
Mr. Hartman, would you like to come forward and introduce yourself? We all know you, but you might as well.
Thank you. I'm Adam Hartman. I'm Superintendent of Schools, Canyon City Schools. So thank you. You did a nice job with that overview. Just a little bit of additional context. We serve the students, and we actually are able to have a pretty good understanding demographically of the students and families we serve. That's gotten a little bit harder in recent years because of the state initiative around healthy free meals for all, but that's talking about kids. So with the government shutdown and with the disruption of SNAP benefits, initially our focus was just on our students, and Amy, you properly spoke to the good work of Loaves and Fishes, the FIOG. Backpack programs are not common just to Canyon City Schools. There's a really robust backpack program in RE2 as well. In your local school district, the information that we have regarding overall free and reduced lunch rates hover right around 60% of our kids who are eligible for assistance through what would otherwise be free lunch if the state weren't already providing that through healthy free meals for all. So we knew that we had to do something around that, and we did so through the backpack program. But as the government shutdown went on, then we started to think about our people. Our strategic plan has 4 areas. The first one is learning, kids. The second one is people, and now we're actually really just talking about the people of Canyon City Schools. The third area is engagement, and that's engaging with the community. And the fourth is resources, not only in terms of money, but also the time, the talent, and others, so people who can partner with us. Well, that second priority of people, I want to break that down for you just a little bit. Canyon City Schools is the second largest employer in the county, behind corrections. We have over 600 employees. And people, when they think of schools, automatically, if you say, hey, who works in schools, they think of teachers. Maybe they think of principals. They think of counselors. But they actually, what they're thinking of when they're thinking of those people, they're thinking of the minority of the people who actually serve the school district. Of the 611 employees we have, only about 240 are actually certified. And it isn't only our paraprofessionals, but also the people that clean the schools and serve our meals and drive our buses. So then I went to business services, and I said I need to know more about SNAP. Quite honestly, I'm fortunate, and I've never been dependent upon SNAP, so I didn't know. I had some learning to do. What does it take to be eligible? Now please run that against what we know about our staff, and how many people, if they were the only breadwinner in their home, might be eligible. And we found out it was over 100 people. At that point, then that's when I conducted the first survey. And the survey said, what it said is, this is not anonymous, but this is confidential, and we're just looking to take care of our people. We're just trying to figure out if we can, because quite honestly, we didn't know what the response would be, nor did I really have a plan for what that would look like. Is that a food drive? If so, driven by whom? Is it money? If so, how much? All of those things. So the first survey simply said, if you'd like to share your name, and if you are a SNAP beneficiary, knowing that we don't know exactly how long this is going to go, could you tell us if you anticipate that this might create a hardship for you? And if yes on that, how quickly that might happen. So we had that information. And at that point, the 109 shrunk down considerably, and I watched as the government continued to be shut down and the days started to get later. And then we sent a second survey, and the timing of this is when it got a little bit more complicated. because this is actually just Wednesday last week, the day before the government turned back on, at which point we now said, we're going to do something. We're headed into the holidays, and we know that we have a lot of people who could use our assistance, and the board is approving of that too. But it's complicated again to the point because in the general fund, this is something that might take an engagement with the associations, making sure that they're comfortable with if it's going to be money, how much that might be. And I sent that second survey out. At that point, the conversation came back up because Council Member Schmischer had been in contact with the school district, and I called and said, I think we could have a need for this. Not a huge amount of money, but just a wonderful opportunity to feel the recipient good work of the city, because it was clear to us that you were looking to find somebody who might make that go a long way. And as our second largest employer in the county, we knew that there were people. That number, actually, fortunately, the government did turn back on. I heard, this is an interesting anecdote. There's two, and I know I'm taking a little bit of time, but I think it's important that in our community we think about this. One was from one of my teachers. She's now a certified employee. As recently as last year, she was a classified employee. And she broke down for me the difference between having been a classified employee who wasn't making a lot of money and was thereby eligible for more assistance, and now the fact that she's gained her credential and become a teacher, she's no longer eligible for that level of assistance, but the net is actually that she has less to go around. It's really fascinating. That was good for me as an employer to understand how kind of that line kind of cuts like that. And then the second was an employee who called me on Thursday morning to tell me that she had received her allocation. And she went on to tell me that SNAP allows individuals to roll dollars forward from one month to the next. I didn't know. And she said, but I had been holding on to my remaining October money in case of an emergency. And then she told me it was $10. So I just very much appreciate that even with the government opening back up, because we had a quick conversation right away and said, well, the benefits are flowing. We do recognize that a good number of our people had suffered a very significant disruption to what things looked like for them earlier in the month. So all of that said, close of business on Friday. That second survey closed. I went in this morning. I got the number. The number is smaller than we thought it might be, and I'm glad of that. So actually, I amended at that point and reached out this morning to Councilmember Schmischer again, saying we really think it's probably a smaller number, and that's what I know. Questions? And thanks for letting me talk a little bit.
John, go ahead.
Thank you very much. Just so everybody knows, SNAP is Special Nutritional Assistance Program.
Correct.
And so that's a benefit from the government flowing to citizens who meet certain criteria.
Correct.
To purchase food, essentially.
Correct.
And I do not know myself and have not heard, will the government be playing catch up on the missed SNAP?
That's really
benefits?
interesting, John. I was watching as best I could to make sense out of this, and not only was it unclear the percentage which they would actually honor the allocations, but it seemed to vary from state to state. So I read one article in a national news media on Wednesday or Thursday last week that said people in Colorado were getting full allocation, including what they had missed at the beginning of the month. But even in a neighboring state in like Grand Island, Nebraska, there were families that saying that they had seen none. So my understanding, though, is that it's to be, and trust me, I'm a new student to all of this, but it is to be honored, and it's going to be honored going forward. I believe they've got guarantee through the month of September of 26. I believe that's what I've heard. So it's not a particularly large amount of money if you're thinking about it as a parent with children or even a grandparent with kids.
Does that imply that SNAP is state-run, is a state-run program?
It's federal.
It is
Yeah,
federal.
It's federal,
Well,
but
federal
it flows through states.
Flows
Correct.
through the states. They
Mhm.
administer the program, would
Correct.
that be correct? Yes.
Yeah. Counties do too.
Go ahead.
I guess maybe just one additional point of clarification on that. I've been supporting the downtown businesses. They've been doing a food drive. So on Saturday, I helped pass out food to members of our community. And it seemed like some of them had received their SNAP benefits and some had not. And the numbers that they had received none of them were what they were expecting.
Interesting.
So it seems like there continues to be significant disruption and just uncertainty around timelines and amounts, which certainly going into the holiday season is challenging. based on Superintendent Hartman's second updated survey, I think what we would actually be looking at is 20 school district employees who are, needing additional support at this time.
Correct.
So I think that I would, we had put in here award of up to 6,000, and I think I would suggest 4,000, given that it is only 20 employees instead of 30.
Okay, thank you. John?
And so my question would be about administering, if these funds are granted, how would the school or the district determine how much and who gets what?
Yeah, it's a good question. So we actually, as part of the survey, we asked how many dependents were in the household too. So we'll take the total number of dependents for those 20 and divide it by the dividend, the larger number of the 400, and then it would just be equitable based upon that. I did check with Business Services last week. The school district has 2 501c3s that are associated with the district, one of which is for charitable donation, and we think that the monies could go directly to there, and then we would push them out not as part of their actual check, but as probably as a separate check at the end of the month. Yeah, my hope would be too, and I recognize I'm standing at a city council meeting that's live streaming too, but my hope would be before we go on break to be able to reach out to these people and let them know this is forthcoming because the holiday is around the corner at this point.
Okay, Amy?
Just one more comment for broader contextual awareness. If this 4,000 was awarded, I believe City Council would still have 2,000 left in the potential City Council projects line item, as well as 1,600 in unclaimed 2025 community agency funding. So there would still be 3,600 that would be left if additional local organizations that feed the people of Canyon City were to reach out and request additional support going into the holidays, just given how unusual this year has been. Thanks.
Thank you, Amy. John?
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. So the school district, as I understand it, the city has conducted a similar survey, is that correct?
We didn't go into quite as much depth as the school district did. Ours was anonymous, and we asked our employees, I think 179, Butch, and we had 15 responses that were employees being affected by the government shutdown and the loss of SNAP benefits.
And I would point out that I think that, although I'm not opposed to this funding request, but I would think that if we do have unused funds, that it would be well worthwhile for the city to figure out a similar program, implement a similar program, especially we're heading into the holidays here, and so if we're to approve this, I would consider that would be a necessary amendment, that the city do try to mirror to the extent possible the district program.
I think that would be very much appreciated. Thank you.
And
couldn't agree more.
can I jump in here for 1 moment?
Yes, Tim, go ahead.
Thank you. One, I want to say, Adam and Amy, I think this is a fantastic thing you guys have put together. A lot of people might be saying, yeah, they are going to get their back SNAP benefits. But again, we're going into the holidays. We don't know when that timing is going to be. And I do want to say that I just think what you two have done here, as well as what John just brought up with our city employees, I think this is just an outstanding program that I think that realistically, I think we need to pass this and make sure all the people are taken care of in these two organizations. Thanks.
Thank you, Tim.
Appreciate you saying that, Tim.
Any other discussions?
Do we know what the line item is yet?
Yes, I provided it to city staff earlier today.
It's
and
still XXX.
Sure, I can read it out to you if that would be helpful. It's 10-410-0111-54000. And again, that's the 6,000 that was allocated to city council potential projects.
I tried to memorize that number and I couldn't. I'm just kidding.
So, one further question: if the city is going to mirror the program, this says $6,000, and four is what the current request from the district is, and so should we leave it at 6,000? What's your feeling of whether that's 6,000 is adequate, or whether it should include the other unallocated funds at this point, so that we have flexibility? I mean, we don't want to spend it if it's not appropriate, but.
Sure. I think just doing the very quick math, if the 15 number for the city holds true and we wanted to provide a roughly commensurate amount, then we would be looking at 3,000 for the city. So it would be this line item plus some of the 2025 community agency funding that was unclaimed due to an organization that was awarded funding becoming defunct. I think if it's all right, what I would recommend is that we award this with the amendment, taking it down to 4,000, and the stipulation that the city administrator maybe talk to the superintendent, get the survey that they sent out, and set up a similar program, and council has provided direction to spend the community agency funding and the remaining funds on that.
Do we
need two motions, or is that sufficient?
If I may, what it seems to me that we should do is authorize 6,000 with the understanding that the administrator will consult with the school district and mirror the program to the extent possible.
My concern is just I wouldn't want to provide all 6,000 to the CCEOE, because that 501c3 is specific to the school district. So I think we would probably just want to do the similar program internal to the city.
I see.
I think you probably need one motion for CCEOE, and then if you just want to instruct me to handle the rest of the funds internally, we can do that.
Okay. Any other questions, discussions? Would someone like to make a motion? Emily?
Oh, I just had one more comment, and I just haven't figured out quite how I want to say it. I struggle with this a bit, and I do thank the superintendent for being here and providing us with the details. It's really helpful, and also information from our city administrator. But my mind goes out to the whole community and the needs that are out there, whether it's other local government employers or with their employees, or whether it's others who aren't employed. And so I'm concerned that it's not that we're not in the process of trying to reach out to all these others. You know, maybe there's rec district employees, for example, who would fit into this need, or county employees, but we don't know that. And so I don't know what to do with my concerns. I'm just hesitant on this because we're just looking at two local governments instead of the broader picture of large need in this community, and also the unknown about the federal SNAP program, which we can't solve the problems with the federal government. So I'll just leave my concerns at that.
Thank you. Thank you, Emily. Amy?
Mayor Troutman, I'd like to move that we award 4,000 to the Canyon City Educational Organization for Excellence to provide temporary assistance to the district employees in need, and instruct the city administrator to mirror the program with remaining city council contingency funds and leftover 2025 community agency funds for city employees who are in similar need. Thank you.
Thank you.
Second.
Second, John. Any more discussion on that motion? Hearing and seeing none, would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
For the concerns that I've already expressed and just the lack of information about the broader community needs, I'm going to vote no.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Adam.
And thank you very much. I know that we're talking about $4,000, but we're also just really talking about entities that are looking out for one another. I always feel like people who have the most should think about how they give the most, and I appreciate the council. Thank you.
Okay, I'm trying desperately to get back on track. Were you going to pull C off?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so we did that already. So we're going to D, introduction and first reading by title only of ordinance 19, series 2025, entitled An Ordinance of the City of Canyon City amending Appendix 13.08 of the Canyon City Municipal Code regarding water rates. We'd ask for, here comes Travis.
We will have a report from our esteemed water superintendent, Travis Payne.
That's kind of like a promotion. You're up to esteemed now, right?
Is that kind of like a river? There's no extra money that comes from it.
Yes. That's a free title.
Thank you. While we're doing this, Mr. Mayor, if I could.
Yeah, sure, go ahead.
We did not discuss particularly the administrator's report. I would just ask our water superintendent to, in the next report, you mentioned that the lead line results are coming in. If you could mention what the results are, it would be very nice if you could, please.
Sure. Okie dokie. So this is Ordinance 19, Series of 2025 Water Rates. First reading, water rates ordinance being presented is year one of the 3-year phased-in cost of service with a 7% rate increase option as directed by City Council at the 11/5/2025 General Government Meeting. Both the cost of service and rate increases are outlined in the rate study that was completed in 2024 as part of the Water Master Plan. We've adjusted our presentation, so if you remember our last presentation kind of gave year one of what we're doing for the cost of service. And on this one, we decided to go ahead and give the 3-year, as the whereases kind of do spell out that we're considering 3 years. These are the 3-year adjustments that we're kind of talking about when we're saying year one of 3. So before we get into this, though, I wanted to address the red lines. We received a comment from council today as part of this ordinance, and with some back and forth with attorneys, we came up with the red line language that I provided to you just a few minutes ago for Tim Dennehy's, since he's online and wasn't able to receive a copy, I'll read it out loud. The old whereas read out, the city finds that an incremental rate increase is in the best interest of the citizens of the city and desired to increase the water fees incrementally over the next 3 years until the fee amount recommended in the water rate study is reached. The proposed red line verbiage is as such. Whereas customer class rates are set based on the cost of providing service to each group in accordance with the water rate study, whereas the city desires to implement incremental water rate increases over the next 3 years to align each customer class with the cost of service identified in the water rate study. So I think it was appropriate to identify a little better that the 3 years that we're talking about has to do with the realignment of the customer class study that we did. So that kind of clarifies that out. So that's what we came up with, the language to address that concern. So I wanted to kind of get that out of the way as it wasn't part of our planned presentation. Any questions on that before we move on?
It's a super minor typo, but I think we just need to move the "and" from the third whereas to the fourth whereas, given that we added a fifth whereas. Thanks, thanks, Superintendent Payne.
Thank you.
So as of people watching this, 2025, that's today's amount per
Correct.
gallon.
Yes.
And so it will step up 26, and those are the 3 years we're talking about.
Correct.
Because there's 4 up there. So
Yes.
today, okay.
Thank you for that. Yes.
Yeah.
2025 is current, and then the 3 years of anticipated increases.
Okay. Amy, did you have comments, or does your name just stay here?
It was from the previous typo on the "and."
Okay, thank you.
burned into the
It's
screen.
I can't get it off. What is the problem?
So this is the proposed cost of service phases 1 through 3 of the residential inside city limits. You can see what those are, and this will largely be just kind of each customer class and what those increases are. So we can roll through those if that's appropriate. Moving on, we have inside city limits, other user groups besides residential, non-res, multi-city, public golf course, and group users. We have our meter fees inside city limits and what those will be increasing to. As a reminder, we did all the cost of service increases in year 1, so that would be 2026. 2027 and 2028 just reflect this 7% increase as outlined by the water rate study. Moving on, we got proposed water increases, residential outside city limits. And again, that's just 1.5 times the residential inside city limits. And the same goes for non-res commercial and multi. And as a reminder, group users, public golf course, and city don't have a distinction between inside and outside city limits. And the proposed meter fees outside city limits, again, 1.5 times inside city limits. These are the proposed water increases for the zone charges. Same thing, 2025 current, 2026, 2027, and 2028 incremental increases. Here's the map of the water surcharge zones. These are all the pump zones that we have. Again, the tan being the gravity zone, not served by any pump stations, and the other appropriate colors for the pump stations out to the outer reaches of the what we serve. And just a better look at the North Ninth pump station, as that's a pretty small pump zone and can't really be seen by that first map. So that's what North Ninth pump station serves. And then the reminder of the proposed water increase impacts the budget, that general fund being the economic incentive to the golf course, and the Parks Fund anticipated increase from the city water rate increase. So that's largely what we have for the our presentation. I know we've talked about this several times, so I wanted to kind of keep it low key and save plenty of time for questions if there are any.
Emily.
Yeah, could you go back to, I think it was one of the first slides showing inside residential rates. I just want to be sure that I've got my math right. If you go on that lowest consumption level, the 1,000 to 4,000 gallons, from 2025 to 2028, that's about a 31% increase. And I just want to make sure I'm doing my math right. That seems like a, you know, we're... Well, I mean, if you do the math between 2017, the increase in, those of you who are math majors, go right ahead. I see John has his calculator out. Go from 2017 to 2084, and then divide that by, divide that by $2.17 again. I come up with pretty close to 31%. So I just want us to be sure that's what we are intending here and what we want to do. I'm waiting for John's calculator.
It's 7%, then it's another 7% on top of the 7. It's compounding interest.
Yeah, so
it's
instead
not
of
gonna
21, it's 31%
Yeah.
instead of 21.
I
Is
guess-
that what we want?
I guess I'm a little bit confused though, because I just did the math as well, and I think 7% of 2.17 would only be 232.
Yep, so not only the 7% increases over the 3 years, but we do have the cost of service adjustment over those 3 years. So when you're talking, give me just a second, I'm sorry. When you're talking that tier 1 residential, that's 5 cents difference for 2026 and 2027, and then 6 cents in 2028. So that is the overall change that we had for the cost of service for that one tier structure was, it'd be 16 cents, but that was divided kind of by 3. So you not only have the 7% increases, but you also have the cost of service adjustments that are baked into that.
And that's that where we're trying to help out the commercial side, right, that was paying more than cost of service. Residential was paying less, if I'm remembering right. So over time, we're trying to
We're trying to make the adjustments
Closer to cost
based
of
on what people should be paying based on a cost of service, what it takes to deliver water to them.
Right.
So whether
Yeah, and I think, I just am a little concerned. I don't know that we want to do anything about it or not, but the fact that the people in town who are going to, in town, residential, going to be using the least amount of water are going to see close to a 31% increase from 2025 to 2028. So I think we just need to be cognizant that that's what the math is on that.
And I also just wanted to make it clear that the only thing that's up for approval is that year one increase tonight.
Yeah, Amy, go ahead.
Thanks. I do think it would be helpful to memorialize the cost of service increases separate from the proposed 7% increases, so that there kind of is a document that everybody has that shows this is what the 3-year phased-in cost of service plan looks like. And I know that the water rate study proposes an additional 7% increase each year for the next 10 years. But I think that putting both into the same chart can, or the same series of charts, can make it kind of confusing, particularly if you're just trying to figure out not what is the blanket across the board that everybody is getting, which is the 7%, but like what does the cost of service phase in actually look like? So I do think that that would be really helpful to have as kind of an official part of what we're doing tonight, because I think that the cost of service, the 3-year phased-in cost of service change is a really significant change for our city, ensuring that people are paying what their water costs, just so that we have that as part of the record.
Are you suggesting that maybe that be displayed on the back of a water bill or something like that, or?
Ooh, I hadn't thought about that. I was just thinking about like 4 city records, so that when we have this conversation next year, people already have it and it's already part of the, we've done year 1, now we're looking at year 2 of the cost of service phased in.
I took it just a little to the extreme, I suppose. It says, here's what's coming, and so it's repeatedly going
Yeah.
out, whether you pay on site or you get a
Yeah.
bill, so they could see it.
Yeah,
So,
it's not a bad idea.
just a
Travis,
thought.
can you remind us, when we had the water master plan and the water rate study, were those approved or accepted as a resolution, and was?
Water master plan was, yes.
Yeah, but the rate study was not?
No, the rate study was not.
Okay. And maybe that's the way to do it, is to approve the rate study with those changes in it versus trying to fit it into this ordinance that kind of legislates the water rates.
Yeah, I did pose that question to the attorneys, and maybe we can have it for second reading to see if there is an appropriate spot for a graph. And I don't know that really exists in an ordinance. I don't know if that's an appropriate spot for it. I don't know that we've seen that before really in ordinances, and whether there's a better spot for it or not. I'm happy for discussion.
Well, I think what Ryan is getting at, sorry, is maybe a policy or the adoption of the rate study with, this is the intent of council, that these would be the rates over the next 2 years after 2026. And so,
Yeah,
is that what you're kind of?
It is. I think that's probably the better way to do it, because this will show up in the code, and I don't know that that's the appropriate place for it.
Sure. So separate resolution for the water rate study or for the cost of service alone?
I would do both, actually, I think,
What-
in one resolution.
Yeah, cost of service as it pertains to the water rate study.
Are you, excuse me, but are you suggesting that we don't do an ordinance this evening, or
No, this will come separately.
the ordinance?
At your
we'll-
second
We'll do
reading.
the ordinance tonight, and then the amendment or?
The resolution
The
will come as a
resolution
separate item with the second reading.
With the second reading, okay. Does everybody understand that? Okay. Any other questions of Travis? Yes, ma'am.
Just one additional, just because I know a lot of folks now watch our meetings. Could you explain consumption of 1,000 to 4,000 gallons and the 217, how those two numbers correlate?
Yeah, so the idea is to help out with conservation. So with the increasing tier structure that we have at tiers 1, 2, and 3, the more water you use, the more expensive it gets. So your consumption 1 to 4,000 gallons would cost your $2.17 per 1,000 gallons for those 4,000 gallons. And if you were to use 5,000 through 12,000 gallons, it would cost the $4.32 per 1,000 gallons. And anything 13,000 gallons or more would cost $6.49 per 1,000 gallons additionally consumed. So it's an ascending tier rate structure, again, designed to try to get conservation going.
Thank you, appreciate it.
As
So-
part of that discussion for the public, can you explain what happens if somebody has 4,500 gallons of consumption?
So they're just billed for 4,000, and when they would use 500 gallons in the next month, then it would roll over the next 1,000 gallons. And so it'd just be the first 1,000 gallons in the next bill. So it's every 1,000 used.
So what you're saying is that, I don't have my calculator or math, so the first 4,000 gallons, so suppose you use 8,000 gallons. You get $2.17 for 4,000, and then the next 4,000, you get charged $4.32.
Per 1,000,
You
yes.
don't get charged $4.32 for the whole 8,000 gallons?
Nope.
Okay.
That was per 1,000 gallons.
I just want to make that clear.
Yeah,
'Cause
absolutely.
my wife will ask me.
That is her answer.
Okay.
I don't mean to prolong this, but what if you don't hit 1,000 gallons?
Then you would just have your meter charge.
Just the meter charges?
Yeah.
Okay. It's just curious.
Yep.
Now, that section over there, watch it. All right. Amy, did you want to say anything?
May I make a motion?
Yes, you may. Go ahead,
Wonderful.
please.
Mayor Troutman, I move that we approve the ordinance on first reading with the amendments proposed by Superintendent Payne and moving the "and" from the end of the third whereas to the fourth.
Second.
Made second. Any discussion on that motion? If none, would you call roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Councilmember Maloney?
Aye.
Councilmember Schmisher?
Aye.
Councilmember Stein?
Aye.
Councilmember Tracy?
With the request that the next council keep looking at this, considering our water revenues are healthy these days, and I am concerned about that income, or the impact on low-income folks. I'll vote aye on this ordinance tonight on first reading, but I do have ongoing concerns.
Councilmember Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, we're trying to get back on track here. We're going to go into executive session. I won't
Mr.
even-
Mayor,
yeah, oh,
one quick comment. We did talk about community agency funding, and I wanted to make the comment that in the past, we've reserved on purpose some of the funds that were allocated for community agency funding, so that if someone came in mid-year, that we could revisit that funding. Based on input from staff, we did not do that this year. We allocated all of the funds, because the issue is if you open it for one, you have to open it for all, which means the reapplication process, renotice, reapplication process for anybody out there at the half-year mark. And so we decided not to torture staff this year and allocated everything.
Okay, thank you for that comment.
And so I do have a motion.
Yes, we have a motion. Go ahead.
I move that City Council enter into executive sessions for the following purposes. Executive session to consider personnel matters pursuant to CRS 24-6-4024F and not involving any specific employees who have requested discussion of the matter in open session, specifically regarding the evaluation of the city administrator.
Okay, the motion's been made. Do I hear a second? Any discussion on the motion?
I'll second.
Seconded. Would you call the roll, please?
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Schmisher?
Aye.
Stein?
Aye.
Tracy?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Hamrick?
Aye.
Okay, we are hereby adjourned.